Hey everybody, how's it going? So today I wanted to discuss something that's probably going to be news to a lot of you, as it is news to many people that enter the doors of my business completely unaware that iPhones are not waterproof. And this is something that people typically find out once it's too late, when they have not, bought the iCloud storage that they need, they've not connected the phone to Wi-Fi so that it could back up all the way, and they need their data back. This is the concept that an iPhone itself is not waterproof. And Apple was fined $12 million around in Italy for their misleading iPhone water resistance claims. So I wanted to talk about this a little bit. Here is an area where I am going aside a little bit with Apple, because I think that the specific claims in this article, even if they are saying it's not as water resistant as it should be, they are, I think, reaching a little too far in what they're asking Apple to do. So it says, specifically, Apple is being charged with misleading claims in promotional messages about how deep and how long iPhones can be submerged in water without being damaged. And marketing materials related to iPhone 8, 8 Plus, 10R, 10S, 10S Max, i11, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max, Apple said its phones were water resistant at a depth of between 1 and 4 meters for up to 30 minutes depending on the model. However, according to the country's competition regulator, the messages did not clarify that the claims are only true under specific conditions. For example, during controlled laboratory tests with the use of static and pure water, and not normal conditions of use by consumers. The regulator also took issue with Apple's warranty terms, and this is the area where I start to get iffy, which do not cover damage caused by liquids. The authority considered it inappropriate to push an aggressive commercial practice highlighting water resistance as a feature, while at the same time refusing to provide post-sales warranty assistance if iPhone models in question suffer water damage. Now, let's talk about this a little bit. So let's talk about the language that's being used. So they said over here, water resistance. So what is water resistant and what is waterproof? What does resist versus proof mean? A resistant means that it will resist the ingress, but it's still going to at some point get in. Waterproof means there is no way in hell water is getting in here. So just think about the vocabulary. If you have a resistor, it's going to resist the flow of current, but there's still going to be current flowing through the resistor. Resistant is not waterproof. And again, I am not a fan of Apple. I'm not a fan of their products. I'm not a fan of the way they treat their consumers after the sale. I'm not a fan of the defects in their products that don't exist in other competitors' products. I am no fan of the company. However, water resistant and waterproof are different things. Now, do I think that their phones are as water resistant as the average customer believes? No. But, most customers in my experience think everything is water resistant until the moment they wind up at my store. It's like, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to spill coffee and beer into this and just keep using it after putting it in rice. I had no idea electronics corrode. These iPhones are more water resistant than the older versions. If you take an iPhone 4 and you take it into a pool, it's done for. 100% of the time, that thing is going to be done for. If you take an iPhone 10 and take it for that same swim, I'm not saying it's going to be happy, but there is a considerably better rate of it not dying than there is with, let's say, an iPhone 3 or an iPhone 4 prior to them advertising that liquid resistance. I believe ever since the iPhone 6S, they have been more liquid resistant than older phones. Again, it's not waterproof, but it is a considerable step up. And if you have a device that is not waterproof, but is still way better than dies if it rains, where do you put that? How do you advertise it? It's not waterproof. It's not dies if it rains, or you go for a jog and you sweat in your pocket. You advertise it as water resistant. And yes, the water resistance is going to wear away over time. The materials that make the device water resistant, that seal around the screen and all that, is going to fade away over time. And that's something that would be 100% unacceptable in a waterproof device, but is something that would be considered acceptable in a water-resistant device. I would not expect a company to cover liquid damage under warranty if they did not advertise the device as waterproof. Now, to be clear here, when it comes to my conflict of interest, I make money on iPhones doing data recovery from liquid damage, not from fixing them. So if Apple were to actually offer a liquid damage warranty, it wouldn't affect my revenue at all. It's not like I'm saying this because I'm afraid that if Apple warranties liquid damaged iPhones, that my business gets destroyed. I specifically state on my website, I will not fix an iPhone that has been liquid damaged, because we offer a free estimate. To do a free estimate, you got to figure out if you could fix it. To figure out if you could fix it, usually you have to actually fix it. And the amount of time that you are going to put into a phone when a customer just tells you, screw it, I'll just pay $2.99 to have Apple replace it for me, that it's high enough that it winds up just not making sense in my business model to do it unless you want the data. So I don't care if Apple does replace or does not replace liquid damaged phones. And I actually did a little bit of research here on their site, because it says in the fine that they said that this happened under controlled laboratory tests, and the controls are only true under specific conditions, but it literally says that on their site. Again, it doesn't say proof. It says resistant, and it says right here in large letters at the top of the page that it was tested under controlled laboratory conditions. So it's not like they're lying here. And again, you're making me defend Apple, literally. This is painful. But I don't think that you should be forced to warranty a device as if it is liquid proof if you're advertising it as liquid resistant. I assure you, I am not a fan of how the Genius Bar treats their customers. I am not a fan of how Apple deals with warranty claims. I am not a fan of how they deal with out-of-warranty claims, and I'm not a fan of their general repair structure and how they treat the consumer. But expecting a company that advertises a liquid-resistant product to warranty it as if it is a liquid-proof product is just, in my opinion, disingenuous, to say the least. And now, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not a fan of the iPhone build quality. Here I have a Moto G. This phone is $140. I've had this thing submerged by accident for long periods of time in liquid. Every single day. When I take a shower, I listen to a podcast or something, I have the phone hanging on the thing right below the shower head so I can hear it, and water drips on it because I haven't fixed my drippy shower yet, and this thing will be completely filled with crap. It has not broken yet. This phone is $140. The camera may not be the best. The loading times and certain things may not be the best because it's a piece of shit $140 phone, but it is more durable than an Apple product that costs literally 10 times as much. I am not saying that I'm a fan of their build quality, nor am I saying that they make this liquid-resistant devices in contrast to other companies. But to say that it's not liquid-resistant simply because it can fail in cases of liquid is not being fully honest about what liquid-resistant versus liquid-proof actually means. And as I've repeated, an iPhone 10 will exhibit considerably better liquid resistance and a much better survival rate when you toss it in a pool by accident than an iPhone 4, which will be dead 100% of the time. I remember the days when if you had a BlackBerry 8330 in your pocket and you went for a jog and you sweat, your phone is dead because the sweat from your pocket, from it being in your pocket as you jog, is enough to kill it. Or you wash your hands and you just kind of dry them off like this and there's still a little bit of liquid on it. You type, that phone is dead. It's now dead because this much water is all it takes to kill a BlackBerry 8330. Why people seem to reminisce about those phones as if they are indestructible is beyond me, because all the phones I've ever had, they've broken easier than anything else. And they show an ad here, which again, here I'm going to enter Apple attorney territory. So here I'm kind of being half tongue-in-cheek, but I'm going to play you the commercial. I'm without the cheesy music. So here you've got, I don't know, they're in a spaceship or something somewhere, and they're in the spaceship or whatever, and they're throwing crap at the phone. They got teddy bears, because piece of rubber. They got broccoli, the Jell-O. This is not really my, they threw a glove at it. They threw a cake at it, and then you had a sprinkler go on. And they said that I believe this can be loosely translated to say that it lasted. Now, there's a couple of things to go over here. They had a sprinkler go off, a very minor sprinkler. That sprinkler is going to be comparable to the rain. This commercial is not making it sound like you can go to the ocean with it. They dropped a cake on it that immediately broke. Okay, so you got some cake on your phone. They threw broccoli at the phone. They threw a little rubber man at the phone. I mean, that advertising, they're not advertising that you should be going on deep sea dives with this. They're not advertising using it in salt water. They're saying that if you get cake on it, if you throw a piece of broccoli at it, that it will still be there. And they're saying that if the fire sprinkler goes off in a room, it'll still work. And again, a fire sprinkler is going to be kind of like a moderate rainstorm. And that's pretty much weather that the iPhone is. Most iPhones will be resistant to that nowadays. So the commercial itself is not inaccurate. And the part that they go over here, and that can be loosely translated at the end to saying that it did last. Technically, they're correct. It did last. They didn't say it works. They didn't say it works. They said it lasted. The phone is still standing there. And, technically it's still standing. It didn't melt. It didn't crack. Lasted. What does last mean? Does last mean it still exists? Last mean it boots? And the reason I'm getting a little, I'm being like half serious there is anybody who like works at the store is probably for a long period of time is probably familiar with this. We had this one competitor come by that was really angry that we had moved into his neighborhood. He was one of those really possessive types, and he offered to buy me out for $80,000 in 2012. And when I said no, he made these seemingly like ominous threats about what would happen to my business. Like real tough guy. And he had this thing where he was getting lots of press in spite of the fact that, in my opinion, he kind of sucked as a tech. And one of the things that myself and a colleague were always getting were these calls from people saying, I had just had my phone fixed by this person, and the touchscreen is not working like I can see it, but like the touchscreen doesn't, I barely knocked it and the touchscreen stopped working. So this is going back a really long time. Some of the people in the chat may have not been born when this phone came out. But remember the iPhone 4 days? You had the shield that went over the plug for the display and the digitizer, and between the plug and the plate, there was this little piece of foam there on each one. And the foam was there to push the plugs down onto the board against the shield so that if you dropped it, the plug wouldn't pop out and do this. And if you were one of the repair people that didn't care as much, you didn't transfer the foam from the old screen to the new one so that when the customer minorly dropped it, it stopped working. Since this would only happen when the customer dropped a device, they would often think it was their fault. And sometimes they would even come in expecting to pay. And if you were a real scumbag, what you would do is something like, listen, we don't cover drops, but instead of charging you $90 to fix it, we're only going to charge you $40. It works again. And the customer would actually be happy. This is one of those times that really does test your morals, because it was one of those areas where the tech makes a mistake, but the customer is actually grateful if you're only charging them half price to fix what was their mistake to begin with. This was happening all the time, and I'm never going to forget this. There was this one piece of marketing material on his website. I'll put an archive link down below. I can't get this video to play for the life of me anymore. It was from CNN Money. The guy fixed the phone, and he's showing, like, at the end of it, the person is trying to open it, so she's swiping, and it's not working. So the screen is there, but as she swipes 3 times, it doesn't move because he didn't plug in the effing digitizer connector. And CNN still aired the piece, seemingly not caring at all that the phone that they're talking about being fixed by this amazing repair shop wasn't actually fixed. And he actually put this piece on his website, and people were like, oh yeah, I want that guy to fix my phone. So it's kind of been an inside joke here at the store that the place that was like saying, we want to buy you out or else is the play in 2012 was the place that had on their website, in their marketing materials, look at how great we are at making the phone work again. And in the video at the end of it, it doesn't actually work. So the first thing that I kind of got a kick out of in watching this is the fact that they said it lasted, but technically, if we're really going to get into the nitpicky definitions in advertising, they said it lasts. They don't show the phone working. Is this booting? Is this boot looping? Is this, is this dropping calls? Is the baseband working? I don't know. I see the back of the phone. Technically, it lasted. But really, like, on a more serious note here, aside from that stuff, finding them $10 million simply because the phone is water resistant and not waterproof when the marketing says it's water resistant is kind of a shitty, it just seems like a bitch move in my opinion. Again, there are many other reasons that you can go after Apple for being a crap company. There are many other areas that are, in my opinion, legitimate. So, for instance, they have an issue with their computers where if you open the screen too much, this is one of the only computers on earth where if you literally have to use it like this, because if you use it like this, it breaks. And they will cover it on the 2016 model, but they will not cover it on the 15-inch 2016 model or the 2017 model that have the exact same defect. And they said that it's a small percentage of the machines, which is BS and a lie, because in 2018, they changed the cable to a different one. And iFixit went over this. So they actually show that They claim it only happened to a couple of machines, but it was enough, apparently, that they actually changed the length of the cable so that it would stop ripping. So, and they're not covered. There are so many ways to go after Apple and find them way more than this. You also must keep in mind that this is only $12 million. Apple probably makes that in 10 minutes. Now, if you had gone after Apple for something that actually mattered more, then you could have probably fined them a lot more, or at the very least, gotten them to replace items for consumers. In that case, you have them dead to rights, soup to nuts. You've got them cornered. They're selling a notebook computer, which requires you open and close it. You cannot open and close it without having an issue. They cannot weasel their way out of it and say it's not an issue, because in 2016, they accepted on their own website that there is a design flaw. And if you open up the 2017 model, it is put together identically inside that display assembly to the 2016 model with regard to this cable. And you can't say that, oh, it only happens to a couple of them, because in 2018, they made the cable longer. They wouldn't have made this change that required that they do a new manufacturing process if it wasn't something that was seriously affecting their bottom line and seriously affecting lots of users. So in this area, you could have gone after them in a way that actually gets justice for the Italian customer. All those Italian customers that purchased those laptops that only work if you use it as a desktop can now get them replaced. And you probably could have fined them a lot more money, and you could have also done something that affected the way that they deal with their customers around the world. Instead of that, you're fining them because a phone that's advertised as liquid resistant that you could throw broccoli at doesn't work when you swim in an ocean with it. Like, come on. But they didn't do any research on all these other ways that you could get Apple that would actually stick, that are actually legitimate, that mean something. This is not going to mean anything. What this is going to lead to is some size 6 Courier font in the bottom of the screen that says, may differ in real application. This is a laboratory test. All you're doing is adding to the fine print in the world that nobody reads, that just makes a mess of commercials, requires that commercial of a guy that talks to, in the drug commercials where they got the guy that talks really fast that nobody can hear. That's what you're responsible for. Or when you get an item and you have this ridiculous list of warning labels and crap that's written in size 6 font with when you purchase a piece of electronics, that's what you're contributing to with this. You're not changing the world in a positive way. You're not changing the way Apple's going to deal with the customers, and you're not hitting them where it really counts. And you're not even getting rewarded for it. $12 million is nothing. I swear, I'm going to start translating these videos into Italian. I'm going to put these videos, like the ones that I'm posting here, these are going to start getting put in with Italian translations. And if you're an Italian regulator and you actually want to get Apple in a way that matters, if you want to do something that actually affects the Italian consumers who have these defective products, who paid $2,000 or $4,000 for them, who can't get justice, Lewis@rossmangroup.com. Email me. We can talk. I'll work with you. I'll hire an Italian translator if I have to. We'll work together to put together a real case that actually sticks. But here, you are forcing me to defend Apple, and that is something that genuinely makes me angry. This is sad. Like, not only did you barely get them for anything, but you got them under a pretense that even I am forced to defend Apple because water resistance and waterproof are two different things. Their own website says that this test is done in a lab environment, and in the commercial, they're throwing broccoli at the phone. They have a little fire sprinkler that's barely raining. They get cake on it. They threw a rubber man at it. And you're saying that's false advertising. That's just... Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And I'm serious. Italian regulator, email me. I'm not a big fan of Apple, but I do have my principles. And if I think that someone's getting a raw deal, even Tim Cook, I'll say it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video.